And so I'm very proud to introduce him to the stage right now. So please help me welcome Steven Paul Judd. And as he comes up, can somebody please take a party pitch?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. It's always, you get a little nervous when someone you went to college with starts telling stories about when you're in college. So I'm glad I got through relatively unscathed there. Thank you, everyone, for having me here today. As he says, I'm actually right now, we're doing season 4 of Dark Wind. So I just wrapped my episode I directed yesterday. So flew in here today, so I'm glad we made it. No delays on that. So I'm just going to tell my story here if I can. So when I was born in Oklahoma, and I moved to Mississippi, and I started going to school on the Choctaw reservation, and we didn't have a television. Not only did we not have a television, I didn't know what television was. I just didn't know what it was. I'd never heard of it before. And I contracted polio because I didn't get all my vaccines. So I go to the hospital, and there's a TV. I'm in kindergarten at this age. And I kind of knew what TV was because of other kids. They would talk about shows. So it was sort of there, but not exactly. But I asked a nurse, I was like, what is that? She goes, that's a TV. So we turn it on, and Wizard of Oz is playing. And if you remember Wizard of Oz, it starts off black and white, then it turns to color. So in this process of 20 minutes, I saw the invention of television, black and white TV, and color TV. Now, the reason we didn't have a television is because my dad's dad was really religious, and he thought the devil was inside TV. So when I saw it, and those monkeys started flying, I thought he was right. I was like, oh my God. I was like, turn the TV off, So I go home and I tell my brother and sisters, I'm like, there's this thing called TV. Mom and Dad's holding out on us. So we start bugging them. Can we get a TV? Can we get a TV? So they really didn't care. So they got us a TV. And if you would have told me then that I was looking for someone that looked like me on television, I would have thought that was psychobabble. It wasn't until I was older and I started thinking about shows that I gravitated to, shows that I would watch, that I realized what was happening. So, does anyone know who this is on the left-hand side there? That's Iron Eyes Cody. You may or may not remember it, but when I was a kid, it would be no big deal to see the car in front of you, someone just throw their trash out. They'd take to McDonald's and throw it. It was like no big deal. It was so bad, they had to make a commercial for adults to teach you not to throw your trash out. And that's where they got Iron Eyes Cody. He's in this like leather and fringe, and he's on a canoe, and he goes to the city. He sees some trash on the road, and he starts crying. So Iron Eyes Cody was actually not native. He was Sicilian. So we had him. And then, does anyone know who that is on the far right? Yeah, that's Eric Estrada. He played a character named Ponch. Also not a native person, but when I was a kid, I was like, oh my gosh, he looks like my uncle. You know, this guy looks like my uncle. I can't wait to watch this show where there's someone that looks like someone in my family. And then there was this movie called The Cowboys. It was a John Wayne movie about these kids that were like 12 years old to 16, and they had to move these horses or these cattle across the land by themselves with John Wayne. There was one guy on there named A. Martinez. And as I was watching it, you know, when you're a kid, at least for me, when I would see something on TV, I wanted to act it out. I wanted to play act it. And I saw this movie called The Cowboys, and there was this one brown guy, A. Martinez, and I said, that's who I pretended I was. The full circle moment is A was in my first episode of Dark Winds. I got to direct him. So I go up to A, and I just let him know what it meant to me when I was a kid to see someone that looked like me. So I grew up, I go to school, went to college, didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to write. I wasn't sure. So I decided I'm going to make a movie. But I don't have any money. You know, I'm just a kid in Oklahoma. So I took a digital camera and a little action figure and some clay, and I made this short film. This is the first short film I ever made. I think it was less than $24, I know that. So we'll watch that real quick.
Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Looking at our service module, yes, helium 1. We have B That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Ha ha gitoi be oiguda.
Houston, we've had a problem.
So I make that, right? And I thank you. I put it online, and the Smithsonian contacted me. They said, we'd like to buy your short film. I was like, what? Today I'm a filmmaker. So they buy that, and then let me take you way back to the third grade. I'm going to school at Choctaw Central, and there was a contest. Draw your favorite book cover. So it's a contest, so I drew it, turned it in, and I win first place. And it's not because I mean, how good can you draw in the third grade, right? But my mom knew the teacher, so there might have been a hookup, I don't know. But the teacher told me, you're a good artist. So I believed her. I was like, oh, I'm a good artist. You hear that? So anytime anyone needed a poster, I'd draw it up. I constantly was drawing. I believe that if you tell a kid they're good at something, they're going to believe you. So it stuck with me. And I'm not a great artist. Even today, I'm not a great artist. I'm very serviceable, but I think I have pretty good ideas for the most part. I'm not a great writer. I'm serviceable, but I'm also, I persevere. I don't give up, man. I'm very prolific, and I know what I wanted to. I knew I wanted to write. I knew I wanted to make art, so I just started doing it over and over. I don't know if people wanted it. I never tried to make something that I thought people wanted. I only wanted to make things that I wanted to see, because I knew that if everyone else didn't want it, I wanted it. So that's what I did. So I started drawing and making things. So these are drawings. This is the Morton Salt, but I did it like in a Choctaw dress. This is you remember that book by Where the Wild Things Are? But this is a little Max. He's telling him the story about Columbus, and he's scaring the wild things. You're not going to believe this. This is this is Oh, the places you will go, but I made it, oh, the powwows you will go. Oh, do you remember the Magic 8 Ball? You could shake it up. I was contacted by this guy named Donnick Carey. He was a producer for The Simpsons and a writer on there. And he was a football fan of the Washington football team. And he says to his son says to him, Dad, isn't this a racist term? And his dad says, no, this is not. And his son says, oh, then we should ask a redskin if it's racist. And that made his dad think, well, wait, what? So his dad kind of saw it from a different view, so he contacted me. He said, listen, I have all this stuff, and I don't want it anymore. Can you make something out of it? So he sent me his memorabilia since he was a kid, and I made this where you shine a light on it, and this was before the name had changed, by the way. He was actually trying to get involved in changing the name of the mascot, so he asked me to get involved, and he sent me all this stuff in boxes, and I just built it so that if you hit it with the light, it would make a shadow that said something. I also, so I really liked comic books growing up, and I would just try to think of comic books I liked as a kid. How can I change them? Or just for fun, it was just stuff I wanted to make. So this one's supposed to be the Indigenous Hulk. He gets mad when treaties are broken, so he's like, ah. Oh, this is going to be a movie. Oh, can I stop it? I don't know. Maybe I'll go back. Okay. So most of my life I lived in Oklahoma, Mississippi, and let's see, how did I end up making this short? It was someone was saying, I remember what it was. So this was at the time of what's it called, the Confederate flag, right? And people were like, oh, it doesn't mean slavery. It's about pride. So I looked online and I searched and did a little research, and I found out that I think it was Duke University, I think is what it did. They took so if you left the United States, you had to secede from the Union. So in order to do that, you had to write a letter, succession letters they're called. And in the letter, you had to write, this is the reason why we want to secede from the Union. So in that, what Duke University did was they took every sentence and they put it in different columns. This is for states' rights. This is for agriculture. This is for slavery. And so I took that and I made a pie chart and I made this quick little short film. So the setup is, does anyone remember the Dukes of Hazzard? So you're that flag on top. So the premise of this one is someone has been vandalizing the Duke boys' car and they're not sure why. So we'll watch this little short.
Not again.
This is the third time this month someone's vandalized the top of the General. We better call the law, cousin.
Maybe it's because of all the baggage that comes with that flag.
That's a flag? We thought it was just a cool design with stars and whatnot. Uncle Jesse, did you know it was a flag?
Boys, I got some chores to tend to. You know, a chicken in the bread pan, chicken out. Most folks that know a little history realize the states of the South that fly this flag were seceding to keep slavery.
Now, wait a minute, Roscoe. We got kin that fought on the side of the South. And they wasn't for no slavery. They was for states' rights.
Well, someone should have told your ancestors that, because they thought it was about slavery. In fact, they included it in their secession letter. The red in this chart shows how many woods were devoted to the issue of slavery.
Look out, cousin. The storm's washed out the bridge.
Hang on! Yee-haw!
So I'm very, what's the word? If someone tells me I'm defensive, that's the word. If someone tells me I'm wrong, some people, I've seen it happen in real time where people are so gracious when they're wrong. I'm sorry, I was wrong in real time. And I don't have that in me. I work on that. I want to do better. I just don't have it. I double down. I dig my heels in. And then when I'm driving home, I'm like, oh man, they were right. Why couldn't I just say they were right? So knowing that I'm like that, anytime there's something that I want to maybe take on as maybe an issue in art, I try to do it in more of here's what I would like. Someone to see it and go, they look at, oh, that's kind of funny. I never thought about it that way. And then they're coming to their own realization. It's not me saying you're wrong. You're not thinking of this right. You're not. I like people to just see the art for what it is. They could just say, "Oh, that's funny," and that's fine. Or they could think about it deeper. But it's them coming to it. So that's what I try to do with mine. So that's why I try to make stuff like this. Is just something to maybe make people think. I also do stuff like this just for myself. Fun stuff like they were like Pez dispensers, but I made these little res dispensers that I don't know, I just make it. These are images that I love alien ships, and I thought, you might remember Space Invaders, right? But then I made them these Columbus ships, so these guys are shooting them, and then I just like blending all these photos together. When I was a kid, this is Seven Generations, and then Star Wars. So these were stuff that when I first started making things, I just enjoyed it. It was just fun to me to try to find pictures and blend these things together. I made this I was talking to someone, I saw someone on the news. This was during the presidential election, maybe 12 years ago, maybe that long ago, and they were saying, you cannot, what did they say? Was it about treaties? You cannot trust treaties. You cannot trust treaties with foreign nations or something to that. But they were doing it with a straight face about treaties. So I decided to make this short film here called First Contact.
Aki, Chakwan iyan. We come along, Kisam Sonanak, Wuchi, Akomak, Kitahan. Pionk, Kwa wat ki kuchi, Kiowan, Kwa Pam Kuki. Wa yung ti yok anak, Ta wikatamawank. Kachanai, Mata kawahawa, Yuski Tompak, Apamo ko, Wa ata nismashoy. Haki mas mamki wowa kanichonan, kataya mawa wat kwanonak, aki ayatu wayak, kwa aki akusawak I mantu. In kakiha tatwuchi witapotam sayakat matan ayotama winak, matamai katikwanonak, pionsh in wachonamak, payisashan. Tiakwash wosho kwanawak. Tanit ni mata unun, Tapin iawash wuchi na natai. Nita to jakwan I. Wachonamak mashoyash. Mashoyash? Akwani wokwat pamasaswak? Na yashawak. Ayana mawik nataya sanawak. Chakwana wi machi chakwan maskawa bachak. Nax kat matapawako kawi tabatamawak.
So I also like to just make things. These are some custom shoes I made for Billy Mills. I just looked at what his original shoes looked like. I made a flag for the Oglala tribe and made it smaller. His jersey. Then I got on eBay and found an original bag that they gave away to the athletes. So I kind of made that for him. And on the back, it has his number. You can't see it on this picture. This jacket is, I just drew a ledger piece and I had it chain stitched, and you can't really see, but the shield, I have an old Volkswagen van, so the shield is actually a Volkswagen van symbol. It just goes with the van that I painted up. Just stuff I like to make. This is it's like I'm Kiowa, and we had teepees, and I always thought it was like a mobile home, so I just made this motel sign with that. And instead of a Bass Pro Shop, we call Buffalo's Ogon Bean. The Kiowas use it for everything, so I made the Bison Pro Shop. This is, let's see, it's like the Monopoly game, right? So I think this one speaks for itself pretty much. And then Popeye and olive oil, but he's got this commodity can of pork juice, and she's got a ribbon skirt on, he's got a ribbon shirt on. I love Aliens. That's King Kong's fighting against the colonizers. Get out of here, old colonizer! But these were before AI. I had to get in there. Now you can do these. Anyone in here can make these now. But back when I was making them back in the day, I didn't go to school, so it was just practicing, just to see if I could make it. I love taking old images. There was a guy carrying a sandwich board, so I just redid it and made this. This down here, I used to be on Facebook, and I just got on Facebook and said, hey, everyone knew the kind of stuff I made. I just said, meet me at the theater and wear your regalia, and I handed out 3D glasses. I wanted to mix, I love regalia, Indian people laughing, and movies, so I wanted to put them all in one picture, so we made that. There's a Star Wars, the cold, that's a Star Wars image. See what we got coming. Oh, this was E.T. I liked E.T., that movie E.T., so that's just him looking at little E.T. Then, you know what a Rubik's Cube is? You guys know what Rubik's Cubes are? So I made this out of Rubik's Cubes. It's a Jim Thorpe portrait. And then I made this out of Rubik's Cube, Chief Joseph. Just anyone, okay, so anyone can do this. I promise you. Well, okay, 99% of you can do this. I had an assistant, and his only job was to take apart, because, they're all individually wrapped. I said, just take these apart. I'll do them, then you carry them down. We'll glue them together. So he would, they'd be all messed up, because he was trying to help me, because I already pre-made them, so he had to, and I was like, he couldn't even, I said, you got to stop, because it's making it harder for me, because I'm having to take it back to zero. So he goes home that night, and he got on YouTube, how to do a Rubik's Cube, it's steps. He would pause it, rewind it, and he got all the way to the end, and it wasn't right. And he looked at the comment, and it said, the guy who made that video said, you dummy, you should do this on your own without me. So it was fake. Some guy had just turned left, right. And he said he was pausing it and really going back. And I was watching a show called, what was the show called? It was called something Tattoo. It's not a game show, but so they have tattoo artists versus other tattoo artists, and then whoever the best tattoo artist. But they would do teams, and they would have these little challenges, and one of the challenges, they gave them 3,000 dice and said, make a picture. And I was watching it, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But I bet if you had more dice, you could make something more realistic. And I think the mistake, or not a mistake, something that I would have done was use black dice so you could really make the contrast instead of white dice. So I ordered, let's see, for this one I had 16,000 dice. I mean, it looks like a photo to me, man. That is crazy. And then for this one, I used 20,000 dice. So no one's asking for a dice picture, you know? No one's asking for any of the things I make. They're just things that I want to make, things that I want to see. So, all right, I'm at home. I need art. I don't know, I think this is, I need art. I'm at home and I need art. I had, let's see how this story goes. I'm gonna tell you a quick, I got time to tell you this real quick. Okay, so I'm going to college. I went to a school called Haskell. Has anyone ever heard of Haskell? Haskell Indian Nations University in Lawrence, Kansas. And I get a degree in, I guess, an Associates of Arts degree. They didn't have any 4 years. Then I went to KU because they were offering a scholarship in speech pathology. So I got the scholarship. I went there one semester. I mean, they had first semester, I'm already in lab coats, and I don't know what's going on. I'm looking, I took all the books back, said, thank you, I don't. So I went and worked at Sonic Drive-In instead. I said, man, and that was the summer, and I was like, I should probably go to school. So I called up, it was a lot different back then. I called the University of Oklahoma. Hey, I'd like to go to school, come on down. And I don't know what school cost then, but I was able to pay for it by working. That's whatever school was then, I had a full-time job, and I would work and pay for it. Because I didn't know, I'm sorry I talk so fast, my mind just constantly moving, I'm jumping all around, but I don't like doing paperwork. So it gives me anxiety. And I don't mean that in a, I don't like doing paperwork. No, I don't like, I went to spoke at Yale. That's not that sounds like a name, not a name drop. Let me do it this way. I went to speak at a college and I won't mention that it's Yale because I don't want a name drop. And I didn't want to fill out the paper. I thought they were just paying me, and I like, just keep it, because that's how much I don't like doing paperwork. But that's why I never got Pell Grants, because you had to fill out paperwork. I'm not good at that. And reading, I'm not a very good reader, because I read one sentence and I start thinking about things. I got to read it again, so I'm an audiobook guy. All that to say is back then you could call the University of Oklahoma up and like, hey, I'd like to go to school there. Come on down. So I went down, started going to school there, didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to do something in movies and TV, but I thought, if I major in film, what happens if I don't get a job in film and then I won't have a job? And so I was going to school for communications, and I wasn't a good student, but I stayed there like 8 years, not joking, trying to get my bachelor's, you know? And I was like staying in school and playing basketball, and got on America's Most Wanted one time. And then I got on a show called FBI Stories. And I was like, man, what am I going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. So then I graduated, but I didn't really graduate. I guess if you get in within like so many hours, they let you walk. So after I did that, I just left. So there's a picture of me wearing my everything. What's up, everybody? But I never actually graduated. So I started working at a bingo hall, and there was this guy out there, this native dude, and they're like, hey, that guy's Kiowa, like you. Like he is, and he had these little things in front of him, like the prizes of a Cracker Jack, like a troll and a car, and they said he wrote for Star Trek. I was like, there's no way. Like, I would know if a guy in my tribe wrote for Star Trek. So I don't think nothing of it. And then later, I see a documentary that he did write for the comic book, the cartoon Star Trek, and I was like, whoa, that's an option? I didn't know that was an option. Unfortunately, he passed away before I get to talk to him about it, but I was like, that is so cool. I always thought, that's really cool, man. This guy wrote for Star Trek. So I start working for another casino, another tribe, and dealing blackjack now. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to do this the rest of my life. I don't know what I want to do. And I hear about this contest called the ABC Disney Writers Fellowship. I think it has another name now. And you're supposed to write a screenplay based off of a TV show. So I did. I turned it in. I want to make the story, I'm going to try to shorten this down real quick. I see the time here. I end up winning, is the point of the story. I win this contest. I'd never written anything in my life. My first script. I'm like, whoa, this is awesome. So they take me to LA, and I think they paid, I don't remember what they give you a full year's salary, but it was a lot, the most money I'd ever seen before. I was like, I'm not trying to outpour anyone, but when I grew up, and this is not a joke, you know how some people say, we grew up in the trailer house? I lived in the camper behind the trailer, so I don't ever want to when someone tries to tell me a story, I'm like, I think I got one for you. So, we've all been there, looking for the quarters in the couch, and all of a sudden they pay me this money. I go to LA, and there was 10 of us that won it, And out of the 10 people, only 2 of us came from state schools. The rest were Ivy League schools. I'm like, what are y'all? Y'all are writing TV? Shouldn't y'all be saving the world and doing all kinds of stuff? So I get a job on a show called Zeke and Luther. And out of the 10 people, only 2 of us actually got to write a script. So I'm in this show called Zeke and Luther. It's a non-native show, and I got to write one of the episodes. I'm like, whoa. The only thing I've ever been paid to write was the menu at the snack bar of the bingo hall that I worked for. So I get in there, man, I write it, turn it in, and we did 22 episodes. I was on there for 22 episodes, but those are 2 years worth of shows. So when it ended, I'm in LA, I don't know what to do, it's expensive, so I just go back home. I didn't know how anything works, so I come back to Oklahoma, and I just live in this little junky apartment, and it took 2 years, and the show finally came out, and I see my name. I'm like, all right, if I never write again, I have my name on a television show, and that, to me, that was a big deal. So I look at it, I'm eating my spaghetti, but no one's with me. I'm just in my little apartment, and my spaghetti's tasting funny. I'm like, why? It was my tears. Like, this is salty spaghetti. I thought there'd be balloons. But I'm like, all right, well, at least I was able to do that. That was fun. And then I thought, I could use some art in here. And I won a contest in the 3rd grade. So I was like, I could do my own art. So I started painting some of the stuff you guys saw. And I don't know why I did this, but the first painting I did, I filmed myself doing it. I put it online. And someone said, I'd like to buy that. Today, I am an artist. So I started selling art. And I got in something called Indian Market, which is in Santa Fe, my first try for that. So I'm very lucky. I just got in this thing. At that time, if you Googled Native American pop art, nothing popped up. Now there's all kinds of stuff. But at the time, there was a zeitgeist. There was a void that wasn't filled that I was able to fill. And I was happy. I thought, if I can pay my rent doing this, I'm good. But I always wanted to make films or movies. So I was contacted by George R.R. Martin, and he wrote the books Game of Thrones. So I called my friend up. I was like, George R.R. Martin called me. I said, he wants to meet next week, and he wrote Game of Thorns. And my friend says, I'm going to stop you right there. He said, it's Game of Thrones. And I said, but I thought it was like castles with thorns. I was like, no, that's not what it's not that. I had never seen the show, obviously. So I meet George, and George, we hit it off, and I wrote a script for him. So, the reason I'm telling you that part is because I was already back in Oklahoma, and every year or two, something else would just be just enough to keep me going. I would get a museum would buy something, or George would contact me. It was never like, I've made it, or this is it, but it was just enough to keep me wanting to make stuff in the arts. So I'm just doing that, and then my old job called me back. You want to come back to the bingo hall? And I was like, well, it's a tip job, pretty good every night. And I was like, well, I could probably do it for 2 days a week. They said, all right. So I go back to the bingo hall. But then 2 days turned to 3 days, then 4 days. And next thing you know, I'm there all week. And I was like, you don't want to, and it was good because I was able to pay my bills, and it's not a lot of work. But I knew I didn't want to do this. I was like, I don't want to do this. This is not what I want to do. I want to make film. So, oh God, real fast. Okay, so I can tell this. This is crazy to me. So I'm going to tell you this story real quick. I decided I'm going to start writing again. So I go to IHOP, and I like to write through the nights. So it's 2:30 at night in Oklahoma City. And I see these guys outside. And they're not homeless, they're like hustlers, they just hustler dudes. And there was one big native dude. He was 6'3", and he was missing his front teeth, and he had a little hat on. He was so big, it looked like a baby hat. And I was like, man, he looked like a big baby because of the teeth missing. And I was like, when a native sees another native in the wild, there's not many of us, so he's gonna come up to me, but I just want to it's 2:30. So I said, let me just go ahead and get on home. So I go walk to my car. All of a sudden, I hear he starts lumbering toward me. Cousin, he's coming over to me. And he says, I like your car. I said, thanks, man. He says, my name is Raymond. And I can't remember the last name he used, but it was like dull knife or big knife or something. And he said, and I'm Kiowa. So our Kiowa last names are not translated to English. They're not, those aren't Kiowa names. And I have a Kiowa tag, so I think he's reading that, and I'm not sure what's going on. But my last name is not Kiowa, so I thought, so there was all kinds of things going through my head. And then he says, so here's the deal. I was like, oh, here we go. He says, Let's see, how do you word this? He says, I don't drink, but my brother likes to drink. We got pulled over, and they got him in county. I said, yeah? And he says, and they won't let me take his truck home on account of I don't have a license. I said, uh-huh. And he says, if I give you $5, will you take me to the Indian bus stop? And I was like, the what? He said, you know the Indian bus stop. It takes you wherever you want to go. Carnegie, Anadarko, Chickasha. Now, there's a thing that sometimes natives will do where they'll try to out-Indian you, and I was like, is this something every true native knows except for me? Like, I've been living in the city so long, I don't know about the Indian bus stop, so I'm embarrassed. He has me questioning my identity in real time. So I say, get in. So he gets in my car, and he's so big that his shoulders is getting my shoulders, and he pulls out these cigarettes. And I'm thinking, this guy is old school traditional. I think he's gonna give me some tobacco. And he says, can I smoke in here? And I said, I don't think people have smoked in the car since '95. This is. He goes, you're probably right. So we start driving. And he says, I appreciate what you're doing. He says, next time you're in Carnegie, we're gonna feed you. And I said, I was in Carnegie. That's where our tribe is. I said, I was in there for gourd dance. Not this 4th of July, before that. And that's our ceremony. He says, I don't gourd dance. I don't remember what he said, but it was something like bundle fire dance. He's some name, and I'm like, I'd never heard of this. So now I'm thinking, are they dancing after I leave? Is there he has got me spinning. I don't know what's going on. And so I say, I don't think I've heard of that dance. And he says, it's our oldest dance we got. So now he's got me questioning myself. He says, I hate nights like tonight because I got PTSD, and sometimes I just snap, and he punches the dash. And I'm like, oh. So I roll down my window because I'm afraid he's going to hit me, and I'll just be bouncing back and forth like this. So I roll my window down because I want to give myself a fighting chance if something breaks off. So he says, take a left here. We've been driving about 20 minutes, and this is 10th Street. I said, but I thought you said it was on 11th Street. He goes, no, we just passed a sign for it. And I was like, oh no. Because if there was a sign that said Indian bus stop, I would have already had it on Instagram. Check it out, Indian bus stop, So now I'm like, oh no, why did I do this? Why did I pick someone up? I thought I made a mistake. It sounds funny, but at the time I thought I was gonna die. So I was just like, and this is weird to say because I don't want to die, but I thought it through and I was like, oh man, you have not owned an alarm clock in 7 years. I was able to do art. I got to travel all over the place. I was like, man, would I trade it? If he killed me tonight, would I trade it? And I was like, no, I felt pretty good. I'm not gonna let him kill me. I was making a plan how to defend myself, but I was like, I felt pretty good. I was like, okay, this is pretty good. I haven't worked anywhere in a long time. This is good. So we're driving, and he says, hey, can you loan me $20, and the next time I see you, I'll pay you back $100. And I said, that's a pretty good deal. But you were gonna give me $5, so do you only want 15? And he says, what? I said, nothing. So he says, there it is. Now, in Oklahoma City, our bus stops are called embarks. I said, that's an embark bus stop. He says, no, they put those signs up to throw people off the scent. He goes, that's an Indian bus stop. And I'm thinking, is this like maybe, I'm trying to do the math, and I'm thinking it's like maybe that's like a group has picked up disenfranchised natives, or maybe it's Harry Potter. I don't know what it is. So I shoot the U-turn, and we pull in, and I don't put it in gear. Smart, keep it in drive. And we're just sitting there, just the engine, me and him. He doesn't get out. I'm trying to look at him from the corner of my eye, like, whoa, what's going on? All I can hear is my heart. So we're just sitting there, and he says, did you check? And I was like, what? He goes, you said you didn't carry, you were going to check to see if he had any. I said, oh, yeah. So I got $5, and had these hands like on Never Ending Story, those big rock cans. Ooh. He says, what about the change? I said, yeah, it's all yours, dude. So, and I'm scared. Every movement, I'm thinking, is that someone? My head's on a swivel, and he grabs the change, he opens the door, and when his foot hits, I punch it, Chewy, and he falls out, and the coins go in the air, and he's actually thanking me. He's like, thanks for the ride. He's trying to thank me for the ride, but I've already hit the gas, and I hit a curb and sparks, and as soon as he was out of the car, I just felt like, oh, I'm fine, nothing's wrong. But now I'm curious about the Indian bus stop. And it takes over. So I cut down the alley and I kill my lights. And I creep back on around the corner because I got to know what is going on at this place. So I cruise back up to it and he's gone. This guy, 250, just a huge meat, and he's gone. So I look across the street and it's just, there's nothing there. It's an empty lot. So I go down the alley. Maybe it's party time. I don't know. And I cruise down the alley. Can't find him there. And I freak out. So I call my cousin. Now, it's about 3 at this point. He's younger than me, but he's traditional. He speaks the language. He knows. So I say, hey, man, have you ever heard of this guy? No. And I said, what about this dance? No. What about this last name? He goes, no, but it could be like yours. That's what I thought. So I go home, try to find the guy on the internet. Can't find him. I can't stop thinking about this guy. Every day I think about this ride and the things he said to me and how he disappeared. And I feel like I'm sane, you know, like I know this really happened, but this guy disappeared and it was, so I keep thinking about it. So I said, all right, I want to make film. And I'm gonna write this down as a short story, as a short script. And I'm gonna make one last short film. And if no one thinks it's good, then I have to be honest with myself that maybe filmmaking is not for me. I just have to be very honest. So I type it up and it looks pretty good. And I get online and I say, hey, I like to make this short film. If anyone likes the art I make and wants to help produce it, put money into it, contact me. P.S. You will not make your money back. So someone contacts me. I'll pay for it all. It's like, all right. So then COVID happens. So I don't get to make it. Then this producer calls. What happened to that script? I said, COVID happened to the script. He says, can I show it to some agents? He does. The agents love it. They want to represent me. Then they send me to J.J. Abrams, who made like all the Star Trek movies and all this movies you've heard of. So I go meet with them. They're like, we love this script. We're doing something with Stephen King. Do you have an idea similar to this? And a week later, I pitched an idea, and they bought it in the room. So I write that. Then Marvel calls. No. My agent said, you need to write another script, like a TV show. So I wrote one based off of a book that I co-wrote with a guy named Thomas J. Paul, who's Kiowa. Now, this book only sold 1,000 copies. That's nothing. And we self-publish it, and there's all kinds of, misspellings in there. But I knew it was good. I didn't give up. So if anyone out here has a book in them, and you're like, no one bought it, it doesn't matter. If you know it's good. So I wrote a pilot based off of that. And then Jordan Peele wanted to buy it. And actually, J.J. Abrams, so they did a little bidding war. Keep that between us. It'll probably be announced soon. But so they bought it. And then Marvel called, and they said, we're doing a show called Echo. Do you have any scripts? I said, I just wrote this one. Sent it to them. Got hired on Echo. And then through a bunch of this, that, and the other, I got to decide what tribe the person should be. Now, I'm enrolled Kiowa, but growing up, I've seen teepees and horses, but I'm also Choctaw. I never get to see that online, you know. So I thought, let's make this superhero Choctaw. That way, if I was 13 or 12 or 10, I could see it and go, oh, the diamond pattern, I've seen that at my grandma's house. That's cool. Oh, a basket, that's really cool. I wanted to make something that I knew if I was a kid and saw a superhero wearing, I would think it was cool, you know, like the superhero, but they're doing Choctaw things. So I made it Choctaw. So I worked on that a year. And then I got hired to do a TV show called Dark Winds, which I'm on now. And I wanted to direct, but all I've made is what you guys saw, man. That's nothing, just cardboard. I was like, I'd like to direct. And they said, well, have you directed anything? I said, do you have a shadowing program? They said, we don't. So I saved my own money, and I flew myself out to set, and I paid my own hotel, and I showed up for free, and I watched them through the whole production process and the whole filming process, and they knew I was serious. The next year, you get to do your own episode. I did that episode. I didn't mess it up, and I got to do this episode today. But the point of all that is I can trace everything back to that picking up the hitchhiker. I'm not saying pick up a hitchhiker. That's not what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm saying, but I never forgot that night and that guy. And I was thinking, like, is it real? I don't know if it's real. And I'm afraid if I meet the real guy, he's only this tall. You know, like my imagination, I got this big guy coming after me. But whatever happened that night really spurred me on. And the point that I would love to say, first of all, is that first teacher that told me I was good at something. That was the one thing. And I've been tenacious ever since. The other is perseverance. I persevere. That's all I have. I don't have the most talent. I can't write the best. I'm not the best director. But for some reason, maybe I was born this way, I don't know, I believe in myself. I mean, I have the confidence that this is embarrassing, but it's true, and I think it's something you can do. Whenever I do a painting, even when I'm signing my name, I'm like, oh man, you're killing it. Look at this. I cheer myself on. I'm my biggest cheerleader, but I say it out loud, which is embarrassing because people are like, are you cheering yourself on? I don't think it's a bad habit to do. I would encourage you to do that. But I would thank you so much. Thanks for letting me stay late. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.